Hans, the stock chart is challenging, and I mean that with no disrespect to you. It is a war out there. What is your strategic plan for this year to differentiate yourself in the time of the cloud?
That's a great question. I think that we have a strategy that we laid out some 5 years ago. We're in the middle of the execution. I think it's three things we're focusing on. Number one is, of course, the mobile infrastructure, the core business that we have. A lot of markets are going from 3G to 4G. We're going to capture that business opportunity. Then refining the 5G, which, of course, is a main focus for the company. So we are going to be the number one on that. Secondly, we are into some new targeted areas where we are now world leader. Those are now growing with over 20% for us. They will now be accretive to our bottom line as well. That will help us. And thirdly, we have a cost program of roughly 9 billion Swedish kronas in net cost out in 2017 that we're executing as well. Those are the three things we're focusing on in 2016.
I understand you can work it off the income statement with expense control. Are you going to be forced into financial engineering to jumpstart the stock? I mean, it's a bad phrase now, whether it's IBM financially engineering or say what John Chambers did at Cisco, jumping his stock substantially. Are you going to become John Chambers and deploy cash back to shareholders?
We announced today the proposed dividend to our shareholders, which was an increase of 9% again. We basically have a CAGR of 11% on our dividend since 29. Of course, the shareholders meeting will approve it, but clearly we have increased our return to shareholders here, mainly because we are producing a good cash flow. We had a really, really good cash flow in the fourth quarter here. So, yes, we're doing that, but we're really taking care of our investments as well, so we continue the world leader.
But, Mr. Vestberg, I understand. I mean, you've basically put your pitch out there, right? You've gone through the three things that you want to get right. What do you think you're doing wrong? Because going back to Tom's chart about the share price, it hasn't really moved in 8 years. So why should investors believe you and continue with Ericsson?
I think it has been an industry that has had a tremendous consolidation, that's for sure. And basically for 10 years ago, we had 15 competitors, and in the mobile infrastructure, we're down to 3. So, of course, it's been a tough industry, and we still stand here, and we will continue to develop as a company. And, yes, we have had, over an 8-year period, a fairly low development of our share price. On the other hand, we have a good yield and a good dividend, and I think that's also important in these times where instability is there. But it's more about seeing that Ericsson continue as a world leader, because that's the main part of this.
When will telecom CapEx spending in North America come back? It accounts for about 25% of your sales.
I think that our business in North America is roughly 25%, and a piece of that is infrastructure, but we sell services, a billing system as well. What we've seen the last 3 quarters is a stabilization in North America after a high spending when 4G was covering the US soil. Now we're much more into capacity, which means more software, of course. So we see more stabilization than it will grow.
30 seconds, Hans, very quickly here. Is Jeff Bezos your friend or your enemy?
I think that all clouds in the future will be connected to our networks that we're building. So I think that all cloud computing will be extremely important for Ericsson when we're going to build the networks that are going to be programmable with the clouds in order to give superior services to consumers. So I think that any cloud will be extremely important for us.
Hans, you can come on anytime. I love how you don't have any talking points. Hans Vestberg is a CEO who actually talks to us. We love that. Thank you so much with Ericsson.